great week. Happy Wednesday. Um, Today, I wanted to cover three different things, like usual. The first one is flock cameras, and I've talked about this before, but the similar to data centers and the way that people are following kind of this online push um, to say that something's bad. Flock falls under that. And Flock is just one company amongst many other companies that do the very similar thing. There are software based companies that leverage the existing camera infrastructure, say police cameras or dashboard cameras, or school cameras, things like that, that overlay that to be able to provide these additional services, which includes, in some cases, license plate readers or LPRs. Um, but Flock itself, like the amount of attention that Flock is getting, like I'm not quite, it doesn't make any sense that this particular company is getting a lot of attention when there are many other companies out there that do the same thing and provide very similar services, whether they're hardware based, software based, or a combination of hardware and software. Um, and so that would lead me to believe that since it's almost exclusively Flock, that it's manufactured. It's either manufactured by a competitor to Flock, or it's by some other influence, outside influence. That could be a foreign country for some reason. That could be a state. That could be a political party. Don't know. I don't have much information there, but I would say the unique focus on Flock is setting off alarm bells that this is manufactured. Now, I was watching Tim Pool last week. I think it was last week on IRL, and he was like losing his mind, as well as many other guests that were on were like losing their mind in regards to Flock specifically. And I think the other person that was there was from a think tank, and was kind of talking. It was either, I think it was a think tank, but at any rate, he was the only one that was saying that they're not a big deal. Meanwhile, Tim Pool's like bringing up anecdotal information in regard to like, oh, this accident over here happened or this happened. I would say this: Flock and other camera or software solutions like Flock are less flawed and have less errors than humans. um, I will say this. Well, I agree that any error that happens in regard to Flock or other systems like Flock, those errors can be fixed. And they can generally be fixed by some kind of authentication from a human being. Right now, what's being highlighted are automated alerts that are going out that may or may not be correct. And in some cases, if they're not correct, then they're stopping a wrong vehicle and using a disproportional amount of force that's required, right? So like, I would just say this to all of the naysayers out there that have a certain opinion about Flock-like cameras being in their neighborhood. One, I would probably advocate or have you advocate for better policing of those systems, or better monitoring in this case of those systems, and this is actual police that are monitoring it, but better monitoring, better safeguards before alerts go out. So the system is getting pings and creates pings. Those pings then go into a dashboard just like 911. And that person on the other side of that is receiving that, essentially that ticket request, can do the quick research and say, yeah, this makes sense, sends out the bulletin there, but have those other autonomous systems flag that information that goes to a human for essentially verification. Problem solved. Um, Again, like the way that people are approaching things like Flock-like systems or data centers is, and I will say this specifically to the right, is the same way that the left approaches guns. Um, Somebody goes out and shoots somebody, they want to ban all guns for everyone. That's how people are approaching Flock cameras and systems like Flock and data centers. Oh, we don't want data centers. We want them all removed. We know what? No more new data centers built. Well, that's dumb. We want no Flock cameras anywhere, not in any cities, not in any high crime areas. We don't want them anywhere. They've got to go because we just don't trust them. Like, give me a break. By the way, just in case you're interested on who other competitors are, there's Vigilant Solutions, which is probably it's probably the biggest competitor to Flock, which is under Motorola Solutions. There's Axon, there's Recore, there's Genetec, there's PlateSmart, there's Leonardo, ELSAG, there's Neology, yeah. And then there's other ones that are more software defined that are leveraging existing systems like Verkada and Rhombus, Quorum AI, Spot AI. I think it's Vigilion, another Motorola company, Access Communications. I mean, there's a bunch of these other companies out there that never get talked about, and it's only Flock. And again, this leads me to believe that this is manufactured because the sole focus on Flock doesn't make any sense. I mean, the general purpose for these cameras is to reduce crime and also be able to solve crime faster. It's a deterrent up front. It's also a way for them to be able to solve crime. The fact that they want to put Flock in like downtown Raleigh and Glenwood, yeah, absolutely, that's fine. That way, if something happens, if there happens to be a shooting there, maybe they can track down the individuals faster. The same thing, goes back to the July 4th of this year, where a bunch of kids went out and like essentially there was like a bunch of kids that were in an area they shouldn't have been, and then there was like a bunch of shootings that happened. They've arrested I think everybody at this point, but it's taken a lot of time. And now they're like, oh, we need to put in all these curfews and this, that, and the other. Like, blanket the area with cameras. That way, if somebody wants to commit a crime, especially like a shooting or a stabbing, or an assault on somebody or a rape, they can be found quickly. I mean, that's why these cameras are there. I mean, a lot of the technology is license plate readers, creating fingerprints of cars based on the description of that car, the color, whether there's a dent on a particular portion or a broken windshield or a light or a tag that's out or a sticker that's on the car. Like, it's creating a unique identifier for those vehicles. But at any rate, again, you can feel free to comment comment below in regard to how you feel about Flock. But I want like a legitimate argument against Flock, not just like, oh, they did this thing. Like, those are easily solvable issues. And again, cameras have been around for a very long time, capturing everything you do. If you've been in New York City, there are cameras literally everywhere, on the subway platforms, sometimes in the subway cars, on anywhere in Times Square. I mean, like, there are cameras everywhere. And if you go to like Harlem or other areas, you'll see them mounted on buildings. They're literally everywhere. Again, the only thing that's changed is the ability to make those cameras a little bit more useful by providing a software layer that enables a bit of AI to be able to link things up faster. But again, cameras have been around. So comment below on why you think legitimately Flock, of all of the solutions that is out there, is uniquely different and bad to what is currently being done. Honestly, I really want to hear your feedback. The other thing I want to talk about was the Derek Chauvin case. Now, I'm on. I'm in the camp that that case was complete BS. Having watched the full video, knowing that Derek Chauvin arrived late to the scene, he wasn't the one that put George Floyd on the ground, and was only restraining him. The dude's getting arrested. He can't just let him sit there. Put the knee on the back, not on his neck. Um, Everybody kind of saw the video of George Floyd taking a bunch of fentanyl as soon as the police arrived, so he wouldn't get caught with fentanyl on him. The assumption is that when he was in the back of the car, initially the back of the SUV, which is the first vehicle that he's in, he starts having an overdose and saying he can't breathe. Um, and so, yeah, everything kind of falls out from there. And so, my personal opinion is that he died of an overdose. Um, the pressure on his back probably didn't help, but that's not what killed him. It was his bad decisions. Just think, if he hadn't have, used a counterfeit bill to begin with, none of it would have happened. He probably would have died of an overdose in his car outside of the store, and not be called a hero. I will also say that that's one part of it. The other part of it is that they didn't sequester the jury for that particular case, or for that, yeah, for that case. And so those jurors every day had to come in and out past a whole bunch of people that were violently protesting the entire time. Do you think that the jurors, you think you wanted to be the lone juror that, decided to acquit Derek Chauvin? Do you think that the people that are outside of the courthouse every single day wouldn't show up at your house and try to murder you? I mean, like, it was mind blowing that they were going back and forth through that every single day and having to see that. I mean, that taints a jury pool. And so there was no chance. There was zero chance, given all of that, including the heavy media attention, the summer of riots, and everything else, that Derek Chauvin was going to be found not guilty. Now, if you're watching the trial, a lot of evidence was presented to the counter that, yes, George Floyd took a lethal dose of fentanyl and it was in his system. Yes, Derek Chauvin, or let's say George Floyd took a lethal dose of fentanyl. Derek Chauvin wasn't the first one on the scene. He arrived later. It wasn't like he was there the entire time and he was like abusing George Floyd because he's black. Like, that's just not it. I mean, one of the other police officers was an Asian guy, and I believe there's another minor. I believe the other two actually were minorities. At any rate, the point is that Derek Chauvin showed up to the scene where they're trying to arrest this dude. He is talking about he can't breathe. They pull him out of the car because he's saying he can't breathe. And then, like, they've got to hold him down and figure out, like, how they're going to deal with this dude. And it's like, he shows up and he's already saying he can't breathe. He's like, what is this guy even talking about? I don't know. I've got to make sure that, we're restraining him. And ultimately, I think he dies. My personal opinion is that, he dies on the ground of a drug overdose. That's my take. But Derek Chauvin would be in jail regardless of that verdict, because he was also, I believe, found guilty of tax evasion, and a couple other things. And so, one way or another, Derek Chauvin was going to jail. The fact that he went to jail for this before the other stuff, I would say, like, he shouldn't have gone to jail for this. He should have got acquitted. It's unfortunate that George Floyd died, but George Floyd made a lot of decisions, really bad decisions that day, that ultimately led to his demise, including the ingestion of a lethal amount of fentanyl. And so, like, I don't have time for it. He's got murals. People think he's a martyr of some kind, and he's, like, should be someone that books are written about and the Black community celebrates. Like, no, I'd much rather celebrate people like Arthur Ashe and, like, other influential Black individuals that did really great things, not a dude who was a career criminal and ultimately led to his demise for making a bunch of bad decisions, including passing a counterfeit bill, ingesting a lethal dose of fentanyl, and not being able to comply with police. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. The third thing I wanted to talk about was Trump and Kim Jong Un. Now, I'm of the mindset that the way in which presidents prior to Trump, Trump 1 and Trump 2, handled the way they handled foreign policy did not do us any favors. This includes sustained ground invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, where soldiers were sent out. A lot of them, not a lot of them, but some of them died. A lot of them were injured. Again, there's a significant difference between what's going on in Iran right now and what we had done previously. There's no mass ground invasion where we're sending a bunch of troops trying to spread democracy throughout the Middle East. No, that's not what we're doing right now. And there was this focus that like, oh, we've got to go in and we've got to take these dictators out and install our own people to then spread democracy in these Sharia law nations. And so that didn't work out too well. Then on the other hand, you have Vladimir Putin, who we would much rather just sanction instead of having a dialogue with. Sanctioning doesn't really do much to the government, which can, as we've seen over the Ukraine war, can evade those sanctions by creating alliances with, say, China. And really, it just affects the people there, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. But it's been to two things. It's been to either remove people or remove these people we don't get along with and try to install a U.S.-led leader who then has to, handpicked by the CIA and never does really well. The other is to just ignore these countries altogether and act like they don't exist and they don't have a seat at the table. And the other is to do kind of a combination of the two, which is, be heavy-handed in how we approach them, but then decide we want to back away. And it doesn't do well. And so I liked the way that Trump approached Kim Jong Un. It really got him Kim Jong Un in this case, on his back foot. Trump going to Asia to go meet with some people and then saying, hey, I'm going to go to North Korea, and stopping in kind of uninvited, just saying, hey, we're going to stop in, let's meet. I happen to, hey bro, I'm around the corner. I'm stop by your house. Like, what? That was crazy. And then cross the DMZ with him, which was like super dangerous. Or perceived as dangerous. Now that he's done it, I'm like, well, why haven't we done this before? But it was a big deal. Like, Trump walked across the DMZ with no protection. I mean, Secret Service was like freaking out. But that, like, showing that to Kim Jong Un, like, you didn't hear anything coming out of North Korea, like nothing. And interestingly enough, one of the ways in which you can pressure China is to form an alliance with North Korea. Like, to be clear, North Korea and South Korea are not going to war anytime soon. Neither one of them wants to, and both of them know that it would not be good for either one. South Korea would have a nuke dropped on it. North Korea would suffer the repercussions of the U.S. military in a heartbeat. And so nothing is going to happen there. And so you don't have to worry about what people are going to say about Trump going over to Kim Jong Un, and like how South Korea feels about it, because it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. Nothing is going to change. South Korea is not going to create a trade embargo with the U.S. because we're having a conversation with North Korea. Um, South Korea's almost entire economy relies on U.S. imports or U.S. importing Korean goods, whether it's electronics, whether it's food and this other stuff. Like it requires U.S. buying their goods, so they have nothing to say. So it behooves us to want to form a better alliance with North Korea. Now, what will that look like? I have no idea. I have no idea. Like, it's interesting. I think Trump is talking about bringing Kim Jong Un to the U.S. Very interesting. Having him to the White House, like, very interesting. Um, but if we were to form some kind of alliance with North Korea, that would also screw China. And all of this stuff that's going on, in my opinion, is to essentially screw China. Venezuela screws China. Iran screws China. Getting closer with North Korea, potentially, screws China. And so, like, if you're able to alienate China, you can really crush their economy and really set them back from being able to do things like, not that I think they have the capability, but going into Taiwan or being able to, send more support to, say, Iran by way of drones and things like that, right? Like, if you're robbing their economy or their government of funds, that's only good. It's only good. But I think I taking a broader, like a 20,000 foot view, like Trump trying to befriend Putin and Trump trying to befriend Xi and Trump trying to befriend, basically all of these strongmen leaders across the world is actually a good thing. What you want is dialogue. That's how you run foreign policy. It's not ignoring. And if you are going to try to go after them, you make it known that you're doing it. You don't try to hide behind the CIA and this, that, and the other. Like, I'm sure that Xi knows that Trump is specifically trying to go after the well-being of their economy. Xi is trying to do the same thing. This is why they're trying to basically fund a very interesting move to create pushback on data centers, and subtly funding some of the anti-US sentiment via sources like TikTok and other places. Like, we're both doing it. I think, it's just Trump is being a little more in the face about it, right? But I'm interested to see how this plays out with Kim Jong Un. Nothing bad is going to come of it. It's not going to be like this meeting is going to go bad and then Trump's going to be trying to pull an Iran and take Kim Jong Un out. Like, no, that's not going to happen. They have an actual nuclear weapon. They would wipe South Korea off the face of the earth if the U.S. did anything like that, or at least Seoul, which is, I think, like 30 miles or somewhere close to that from the North Korea border. Like, it's not the same. And so what you want to do is forge relationships. And maybe maybe you hang the US dollar out there in front of them to, entice them to want to boost their economy by coming up with some kind of deal. Who knows? Like everything, it's just interesting. It's just interesting. Like, I can't say anything bad about it. I can't say anything good about it. Well, I can say some things good about it. I can't say anything bad because nothing bad has happened yet. And I don't know how it's ultimately going to play out. I'm just like everybody else, sitting on the sidelines watching and going, well, that's interesting. But what do you think? What do you think about, flock cameras? Let me know in the comments section below about Derek Chauvin trying to get the case picked back up and ultimately thrown out. What do you think about Trump's moves with Kim Jong Un? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, keep believing that the best is still ahead for America. Peace.